Welcome back to Real Estate Makes Us Drink. Brian Quinlan here from Daniels Real Estate.
Brad Nickham from Nest Mortgage Group.
And our guest today...
Stephanie Quinlan, public school administrator.
Oh, see, and yes, the last name is the same. And on this show, kind of a celebrity because I think we talk about her every episode.
She's like executive producer or something,
She is co-executive producer with your wife, Tony.
Right.
So my wife, Stephanie, brought on not just because she's a pretty face, but we're going to talk about some school today. So there you go. But first of all...
And she thinks she likes tequila.
And she thinks she likes tequila, which is what I don't. But hey, you know what? Let's have a cheers. Here we go.
Are you giving up on the tequila?
Welcome to the... Well, I wasn't poured any.
Well, you poured that big, giant cup.
Yeah, I know. It's beer.
Well, cheers.
I'm
Cheers.
game.
We just did that.
And drink it.
What tequila are you drinking today, kids?
I forget what I poured.
You got the Don Fulano.
No, I poured the Ocho. I poured the Ocho.
Oh, you have tequila Ocho.
His is a
Blanco.
little different color
Ocho,
than yours.
The Blanco, and I poured
I
you
feel-
the Don Fulano Repasado.
Yeah, the Repasado. Repasado is Spanish for rest, which means that the tequila has rested in an oak barrel, so it starts to take on a little bit of the color, and so it's not going to be clear. That's
Yeah.
straight out of the still. This one has rest a little bit, and
Little
if you go a little
goldish.
higher, it'll get a more amber color. And añejo means aged, so that's how you know your level
So
of
what's an
agedness.
what's an extra on you?
Extra aged, a lot like me.
Añejo is anything aged up to a year,
Oh yeah, based on yeah.
and then
How much?
anything over that is an extra. But this Blanco is also rested.
How long?
It is rested for 4 months in the stainless steel.
Ah, yeah, you must have something that won't transfer color. So
Nice.
stainless steel vats, and sometimes they use cement vats.
Can't remember how to say it. From
Which one?
Contessa.
The one from last episode.
Yeah. That one is actually rested in stainless steel tanks for a year, and then concrete tanks for a year.
Right, yeah, concrete and steel are used quite a bit. They don't transfer the color, and sitting usually
No
allows
flavors
a
either.
little bit of natural agave to just come to the surface a little bit more.
Hey, I'm Brian. Welcome to Tequila Talk. I have nothing to add. Fuente Seca was
Why
last
don't
week's.
you read this book?
Bro, you keep
This
giving
would
me
help
books to
you.
read. Have you not realized I don't read quick?
He does
I'm
not.
not reading that book. Zero chance. I'm not reading that book.
Maybe you should read this book.
I'm not reading that book.
Do you think he read a field guide that they gave like the Boy Scouts? A field guide to camping, a field guide to anything he's ever done? That's
don't
not,
know. I
that's
don't
not
know.
how he works.
That is not.
That is not.
Huh. That's
Yeah.
weird to have a teacher that doesn't read.
That's fine. No, I read, just not field guides or stuff I'm not interested in. Like agave spirits.
This is a great book.
I'm sure that it is.
It takes the things that she said and talked about and takes it like 15 times deeper.
Oh yeah, mine's basic.
Pretty amazing.
A book for you to
A
read.
basic understanding. I'm fine.
This book's really good, actually. I just finished it. That's why it's
Is it
down
an
here.
audio book? Stephanie got an audio
Yeah,
book.
it's an audiobook. Here, listen.
It was not.
Here, listen. Epilogue.
All right. See, now that may be my thing. I'll
think the
audio
epilogue's at
book
the end,
record
isn't
it for somebody.
Yeah, epilogue.
The preface.
It's fine. It's fine
I thought it
either
was
way.
preface.
Whichever. I've heard it both ways.
Brian, what are you drinking? Well,
I was going to ask you that.
I'm drinking Moore's Light.
I don't know what that is.
It's out of Mooresville, Indiana.
Exactly. This is Black Dog Brewing Company out of Mooresville. Found this on the shelf at Total Wine, where Stephanie moonlights, and it is a just your American lager. It's good stuff.
Just a beer.
Yep. First time I've had it. I
You like
enjoy it. Yep. Good
Do you
stuff.
think you get the water out of that stone quarry right down the road?
No.
Dip it out of the bucket.
But I think there's a purification process of some sort.
They got a sponge.
Whatever works.
Run it through a
Indeed.
sponge. Coffee filter.
So
Some
now
lady's hair.
we've referenced you working at Total Wine. What do you do at Total Wine? We're trying to get sponsorship.
it's
So
fine. I don't think you're gonna get Total Wine. That's a national company, unless you talk to the guys who are in Delaware.
oh, good.
I am part of the
Sure, I'll
service
watch
team at Total Wine, but I spend most
Yeah.
of my time teaching wine classes. So we have, a class you can either do a private class for 10 or more people, or we have 2 classes a month that's pre-scheduled, usually on a Thursday and a Sunday. And We try 8 wines and have a nice charcuterie with some crackers and bread and water. And I tell people a lot about the area the wine comes from, talk about the process. We do some tasting. We see, we swirl, we sniff, and we sip all the time. So it's fun.
Which Brad and I went.
We've both done
we did
that,
one of
yeah.
those, so it is a good time.
So as hard of a time it is for you to drink tequila, that's the same difficulty for me. They all tasted exactly the same to me.
Except the difference, I think, for a beer drinker to go for tequila, the tequila then also has that level of burn. You don't get that from wine.
No, this put hair on your chest.
Wine goes
Thanks,
down
Dad.
rather smoothly.
Yeah. I had fun doing the wine tasting, but I left there going, yep, I don't like all the wines.
Well, that happens. And a lot of people in the classes will often say, when they're not wine lovers, will say, when are you going to have a bourbon tasting, or when can we do a tequila class? Well, Indiana law prevents us from having that. So
Because
in the state of
Indiana is
Indiana-
stupid, folks.
Well, there's a lot of other reasons you can say that, but
It's on the list.
it is on the list. But Indiana as a whole just has liquor laws that will not allow that much to be consumed to truly taste any of the spirits. You'd only be able to try 2, and what kind of class is that? You can get that many samples throughout the store and try it yourself.
And they will guide you to the tequilas that Total Wine makes the most money on, not necessarily the greatest tequilas.
Yeah, but a lot of people think they like a lot of spirits when really they like things that are sweet that's in a spirit bottle.
Right.
I come to find they want a sweeter bourbon, they want a sweeter vodka, they want a sweeter tequila,
And
and
they want
that
a cool looking bottle.
and that usually
Yeah.
means added sugar, additives,
Yeah.
flavors.
My favorite's when the craft bartender at the tequila places says, I spent 20 minutes telling you why to drink these good additive-free clean tequilas, and of course I'll pour you a Casamigos.
Well, then you have those that are sold by
Is it
movie
okay?
stars.
Is it okay if we drop a Snickers bar in it for you? Pantalones, which is a new tequila I thought you were going to bring with you. That is, it is Matthew McConaughey's tequila.
Mostly, actually, Camilla, his wife's,
Yeah.
is the predominant maker
But if
of
we
the product.
said that out there, nobody would know that. But
Right.
actually,
That's true.
the distillery that's being made at, because they don't have anything to do with making it.
No, that's out of
They just put
Jalisco.
their name on a label and hire a distiller. And the one that's making it actually makes a couple of the best tequilas out there. And they have several that are additive-free certified tequilas, but this one is not. And I was really surprised to see the distillery that's doing it put that out. Because Cascanes, which is a very expensive
Yes.
$109 Blanco, same distiller.
Well, that happens outside of there because you can't call it tequila unless it's from Mexico. You can't go and make it somewhere else and really call it a tequila.
No, but I'm saying-
let alone.
So it's made. So there's 180 distillers
Right.
in all of Jalisco and just outside of Jalisco, because there's actually 5 terroirs where you
Correct.
can make tequila. But Cascanes, which is in that same distillery, so the same master distiller, the same still, the same agave. Although they don't do estate agave, they buy agaves, but all of that great distilling that's going on, and then they put out Pantalones, not additive free, which I was very surprised about. Because you would think that out of the other 8 tequilas that they make there, that are all additive free, and all very clean tequilas, that one came out at a low price point with additives. And it shocked me a little bit.
Well, what I was comparing it to like bourbons and such. There's a lot of distillers in Kentucky that also distill for a company that is not their direct company.
All of them.
All of them do it. They
Almost
do
all
it for
of them.
smaller companies.
They all do
smaller.
contract distilling.
I know my friend who is a distiller. She
For what company?
she's Fortune's Fool.
There we go.
I'll give Julie a shout out.
We've given
College-
Julie a few shout outs on it.
college friend, world traveler, and still a good friend today, and a local female bourbon maker. I guess whiskey maker, because the first ones are rye. She won't, to this day, won't share what company, where her product is distilled at and where it's stored in its barrels. Although, top of the line when it came to the cooperage to make the barrels, top of the line where
Sure.
she shows her mash bill and so forth. So it's neat that, you go down not telling anybody anything.
And
'Cause-
it's a little different with tequila because
Yeah.
it's on the bottle.
oh, it has to be on the bottle.
There's a nom number.
Right.
That nom number relates back to what distillery,
Mm-hmm.
what distiller, and what information they put out about it. And then each bottle of tequila, everything that's on the label has to be approved by the CRT before it ever comes out. So tequila, it's a lot easier to be able to go, who makes it, what are they making, what's in it. There's a whole additive-free argument right now between the CRT and Tequila Matchmaker who put that out, and now they're saying that the labels are not allowed to have additive-free on it because additive-free tequilas went up like 22% in sales, and the big five, their sales dropped to 41%.
Wow.
So Jose Cuervo's a little mad
Well,
that
They
everybody
should.
knows there's
Understandable.
garbage in their tequila.
They should be.
Yeah. So
Or make a change.
yeah, so that's what a change was being forced. And then if you go to check out Tequila Matchmaker, the owners actually had their homes raided in Jalisco and like a whole thing to try to shut them down. And it's done nothing but make the movement bigger.
Yeah.
no, for
And,
sure.
and these smaller tequilas that don't get a lot of shelf space that aren't always promoted by the big liquor stores, you got to look at the other shelves and find these other tequilas.
Absolutely.
See, I don't need to read books. I get lots of
no,
great
that-
information from you,
This
Brad.
talks about going back to finding carvings in the walls in the pyramids in Mexico and seeing agave plants in those carvings and people drinking with those, so it goes back to the agave spirits have been around since like the 1500s.
Huh.
Mostly made by the Filipinos.
Oh.
And they somehow took a canoe all the way to Mexico.
I thought it was.
That had to be a hell of a
Well,
trip.
you know.
Had
In
to be.
1400, I mean, they weren't even on a steamboat.
Well, they started with like 150 of them. They got
That's
four.
right.
Yeah, there's four. They
when
got
they
the.
ended.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
They didn't do it all.
okay, y'all drinking tequila,
Yes.
and I've got a beer. What's our shot of the day?
I'll pour us 3 shots of tequila if you want to. Or pick something on the other
Why
side.
would-
Stephanie,
mix
as
it?
our guest, what kind of shot would you like?
We have to do a shot.
Yes.
Well, one thing I know as an educated woman is when to say when.
Well, it's not when you start.
This poor.
That's where you don't answer the call.
You came on the show.
Yeah,
this
you're
is what
here.
we
I-
see in the
Shot.
episodes.
You've watched the
I
show.
have.
before.
Shots.
I have. I don't. I'd rather not mix my liquors either
Oh.
if I can help it. So since we're already doing tequila, my thought is tequila would be the way to go.
All right, Brad.
Okay, so I'm gonna still stay in the tequila area.
Oh boy.
Yes, you should.
This is fantastic.
What is
Is
that
it?
called?
This is called Agavesaurus Rex.
So does that mean it's not really tequila? It's an agave spirit.
It is not allowed to be called tequila because it's not made in Mexico.
Right. That's what I was
And
thinking.
like
it's
we've done
not
this one.
allowed to be called a mezcal because it's not part of the CRT for mezcal, which is different.
Indeed.
Like a sotol, which it can't be called a sotol either, or the one that starts with a B that I can't pronounce. Baracacana? Is that what it's called? Baracacana?
I don't know.
Making
your
up words,
story.
it seems.
And there's one that starts with an R. I can't pronounce it either. But this one is actually moonshine tequila made in Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
All right.
And it's actually a moonshine and an actual tequila blended. So they made a very sweet tequila. But
And it's still, what's our proof on this one? That's always what people ask what the alcohol content is. Every wine tasting and every spirit
80
tasting.
proof.
80.
80 proof.
See,
Okay.
so 80 is pretty standard in your spirit world, right?
Except for most real legit moonshine.
Yeah, there's a
Real
120.
legit
I got a
moonshine is like
125
100
over there.
plus.
Yeah, there's.
Now they have some out that are like 40. And you're like, what are you talking?
Oh,
They're
yeah.
sweet. They
They
call
cut
it
it down,
moonshine.
yeah.
It's not moonshine.
When you go to Cascahuin in Jalisco, also
going?
at Arete, they will let you taste it directly out of the still at 170 proof.
Which would burn your esophagus.
And they say the key is that if you think about all tequila is watered down to the proof.
Right.
So you lose the agave flavor when you water it down. That's why these
Often.
higher, proofed ones are supposed to have more of agave flavor, which you probably would like.
But it balanced the high agave flavor. You need to get past that alcohol burn that some people can't take.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I would not like? The lighting of my esophagus on fire.
I've never lit my esophagus.
Well, that's what it
I
would
drank
be.
a drink that was on fire
170 proof would be
Okay.
just straight burning going down.
Cheers.
to you guys.
Thanks for being here.
Hey, okay. Welcome.
before. Tyrannosaurus Agavesaurus
Agavesaurus.
Rex. Agavesaurus.
I do get that sweetness in there. That is a
That's not very good.
That's not pleasant.
It's okay.
That's
I
not
actually
pleasant.
like it in some mixed drinks. Like if I'm gonna make a drink with it, it tastes better than straight up.
I could see that being a neutral enough spirit that you could put it into a mixed drink and the fruitiness to it. But I don't like this. It's like a bittersweet,
The moonshine,
but
tasting
not the
thing.
fun bittersweet like chocolate.
Yeah, I like that it's named after a dinosaur.
True.
Do you have a favorite
you know,
dinosaur?
wait, hold on. There was not really an Agavesaurus Rex. I just want to make sure you're aware of
Yeah,
that.
no.
I don't want anybody
Maybe
out
on the
here
next
learning
Jurassic
So
Park
maybe
come
movie.
from that.
maybe made up dinosaur names can be your favorite dinosaur name.
One thing that I realize here in April is people are starting to want to sell their house and want to move potentially into a school district of choice. So whether they're choosing to sell their house and move to a new school district, or they're renting right now and they're trying to find where it is they want to live, because eventually they're going to have kids. Maybe they have kids now that they want to be in a particular school district. Is people trying to decide on, if they don't have one that they know they want to be in, how do you decide what school district you want to be in? And so,
Private school.
having been a former public education teacher, I understand that there's a grading scale for schools, and a lot of people will use that to sort of choose where it is they want to ultimately live.
I was told that was poppycock.
Well, that's actually why Stephanie is here, because this is like her field of expertise. And so, back when I was a teacher, I never put a whole lot of stock in what grade a school got, because
reading.
I read books anyway. So Stephanie, when it comes to choosing a school district, someone may go online and try and know, okay, well, this is an A-rated school, this is a B-rated school, whatever it might be. What does that even mean?
Well, for years, I will say that there was an A to F grade system that was put in place. I want to say around 2000, the mid 2000 teens. And any school that had any students between grades 3 and 10 and then further out were given an A to F grade, and that was based on percentages. But it was really cut up into 3 different categories. One was performance on the standardized test. So at the time there was iStep, it then became iLearn. How many kids passed the math portion and the English portion, determined on attendance, students who attended, the overall attendance rate for kids at the school. And then they also added a component called growth. So whether students were able to maintain their high score, or those who may have been on the lower percentile if they've shown growth, or have been able to catch up per year. So it was performance-based, growth-based, attendance, and then high schools were also evaluated, or school districts evaluated on the graduation rate. But that was based on a 4-year cohort, meaning a student that graduates when they come into 9th grade, they're considered a part of a cohort, the class of 2018, the class of 2020. And those who got done in 4 years and had all the credits to graduate with a Core 40 diploma or equivalent or higher, they were able to consider a graduate, and that got put in that rate. So putting that all together gave them an A through F. They averaged those things out. I actually have a whole lesson as when I was a middle school principal, explaining to our staff how they figured the grade for our specific school, and were able to give the specifics. Honestly, you can go to the DOE, the Indiana Department of Education, and find the calculations. They give you great examples. They give you a picture by the 6th screen of a 20 or 30 page presentation. You'll figure it out. As a math geek who loves to look at the numbers and math, that all made sense. And for a long time, administrators worked with their teachers to try to find who were the kids that were like on the cusp, the ones that you can get the most bang for your buck. So maybe they weren't at proficient, but who can we get to proficient? Because that was going to show growth, that was going to add more to your proficiency level, and there your grade would get better.
And
They would have kicked me out back
See,
then.
that's the thing,
Right, we don't give up on kids. Well, some schools do.
right,
They
they
may have
should.
kicked you out. My school district does not.
Sometimes you just got to give up a little bit. And
Well-
keep in mind, I give you guys a hard time. My mom was a teacher for 29 years,
Right.
5th and 6th grade LD students,
good Lord.
which I was one of those, so I can say that does stand for losing disappointment. That's what my mom said. And then my stepdad, who just retired last year, was also a wrestling coach and a 5th grade teacher for like 15 years, and then became a PE teacher.
Okay.
So I've spent a lifetime in a house with teachers, and then I'd go to school where the teachers didn't like me any more than the one did at home. And
Yeah,
that's where my tainted view of school comes from.
understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, one of the things I need to point out is how much I took a lot of pride in the school district that I've worked with, because our motto is all about finding kids where they are and growing them.
Oh, I thought you were going to say
No.
what your mascot was. That's
So we're
completely off.
going to we talk
Can't
about
say that.
growth. Because when you're in a larger school district, you have a lot more students who are in are considered subgroups, whether it's ethnic subgroups, special needs subgroups.
Special needs, I was in that one.
There's a different. I'm glad you can identify that. See?
Oh, yeah, I
good.
knew.
Okay.
It's based on the bus and the playground I got to go on.
But the point here is that, but the goal still was to get our kids to graduate with some sort of, right now they've changed it. So
Right.
being able to get all kids to graduate with a core 40, thinking every kid is going to be
A
college
lawyer.
bound when they
Right.
graduate high school. But that was only up till about, like I said, mid 20-teens, and then it stopped in about 2022.
You say it meaning the grading
That grading
system.
scale. However, since then, they are changing it, and every year it makes a difference. But school districts that claim a letter grade right now are really holding on to something that's at least 3 years old, if not 5 years old. So even looking it up on a website and finding, oh, they're an A school. No, they were an A school. I'm not saying they're not now, but if they're still giving a letter grade, the Department of Education nationally said this is not a good way to really judge schools.
So how do we know if, like, my kids all went to Mount Vernon, which was
Mm-hmm.
a small school, still is a fairly small school, and I feel like my kids got a great education.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one that's a PhD, right? She's a PhD microbiologist, so I don't think the school made her that, right? She was
Correct.
incredibly intelligent. And my son Blake, who was never fantastic at school, is super intelligent, but he's kind of like me, we joke about reading, and I do read a lot of books, but I didn't read books until like 20 years ago, because I could read a book and put it down and go, I don't know what that
Didn't get that.
I didn't get anything. And math I sucked, and Blake wasn't great at school type stuff, but his ability to work and run a crew and the job that he does, he's phenomenal at it. And Logan, my youngest, the same. He was excellent. He's as intelligent as my daughter, but he didn't do anything in class, and he didn't pay attention, and he would ace every test.
What do you mean by intelligent?
He's super book smart.
Okay.
He's very good with people. He's intelligent all the way around,
Right.
and that's why he's a kid that was a B student without doing homework. Constantly got in trouble for not doing homework, but he'd ace every test. He could miss all kinds of stuff and pass every test. Yet he goes to work at a theme park where he can be able to relate with all levels of people, the people that he manages, the clients, the customers that are there. He also worked at Conner Prairie and was able to learn and act and be, somebody from whatever year that is.
Oh, he was one of
It's
those.
like 1942 over there or something.
Might have been a
18
little earlier,
May have been.
by 100 years or so.
But school, he wasn't a great student because he was under interested.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe
That's a
it.
good way to say it. And that's a part of, I think, what they're realizing. And I think educators for a long time, and parents definitely for a long time, honed in on the idea that there's multiple intelligences. You may have a kid who's super math smart, like use the word book smart. Some people can do school well. A lot of kids can do school well based on what happened before they even got to kindergarten.
Sure.
That's what determines whether or not they can do school well.
Yeah, for sure.
If you have a literacy-rich environment at the house and you learned how to communicate.
Brittany went to school in the womb.
That's exactly. A lot of kids did. Both my kids went to school in the womb. They were getting 8th grade math when I was pregnant with both of them.
Yeah. Oh,
But I know you meant when Tony was
yeah.
there.
Tony was a senior.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they were.
But-
Brittany was helping with the homework.
Yeah,
She's
but-
like, "That's wrong, Mom."
Well, and that's what a big deal about I think a lot of folks have come in to understand, including those who make those decisions higher up in the Department of Education, not just Indiana, but outside
Sure.
of the state, is that those letter grades never graded culture, confidence, school safety, the program options, the extracurricular opportunities, the mental health of the students or the staff for that matter. So there's a lot that goes into educating a child that isn't found on that letter grade that people would tout or feel like a failure because they got an F, even though all their kids could teach really well. I mean, I think people will knock like IPS, for example, but I know some excellent teachers and administrators in IPS that work their butts off when those kids come out and they go to work.
Absolutely.
Or those kids go to college and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're going to college. You came from IPS. Because it's really, the school has a big component, a big part of that, but most of it is the home life.
Sure.
And the support of the parents and being able to find the other intelligence. Some of our kids are totally creative. My kid, I feel, is a genius in music and math. The two of those things come together, but he doesn't always seem to have the patience to show it the way a teacher wants it to be seen.
Oh,
Sure.
for sure.
The grading scale's now gone away. What they've gone to now is what they call a GPS. The GPS stands for Graduates Prepared to Succeed.
By the way, I just want to thank you for bringing notes.
I thought
Well, I gotta make
Really
sure.
I
impressive.
thought GPS was something completely
It's-
different.
it's
That's
Global positioning system.
there you go. That's
Yeah.
what I-
Right.
It's
Well,
that
of course,
too.
if we know anything about education,
another reason why people aren't as smart as they used to be because they can't look at a map and figure out where they are.
That is true. I remember being on a vacation where kids would open up the atlas that's as big as them in car seats
Oh, yeah?
and being able to see where they are on the map. And
Because their mother loves atlases.
I did.
Are you a guy that GPSs the place?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a guy. I don't.
Do you still get a triptych from AAA, do you?
No, like so
MapQuest, he prints it out.
years ago I worked for a company where I got to go in the mines
Okay.
in southern Indiana and not southern Indiana, but down by you guys off of Harding. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
South side of Indianapolis is what I meant to say.
Like the stone quarries?
Yeah, the stone quarry. There's
Okay.
a big mine.
Because as
underneath it.
educators, we go into the mines.
You know, mine, not mine.
M-I-N-E.
I hear you.
Yeah.
But there still is a stone quarry.
Yeah. So I went into those tunnels, and the guy said everybody loses their sense of direction. You need to watch this. And we drove around, and he's like, "Okay, which way's north?" And I'm like, "That way." And he's like, "No way." And he did it all again. He's like, "Which way's east?" I'm like, "That way." Like I've always, and my daughter's the same way.
I'm directionally like that too.
And I can tell you how to drive to the hotel that Ronald Reagan got shot at in Washington D.C. because I've been there twice, and I never have to look at a map to know how to get there, which is a stupid thing. And we'd go racing.
Hey, when our phones all shut down
I
because
still can get to
technology
where we're
gets
going.
hacked,
Yeah.
we're good.
It's so funny. We'd go racing, and Kurt's like, "Did you look at where the racetrack is?" And I was like, "Well, no, we've been here 2 years ago." He's like, "Okay," and he's like, "There's a tree coming up, and you're gonna turn." And it's no joke.
Right.
So like I would look at a map and I would know where to go, and then I never looked at the map again. And now I have friends that will GPS to their grandma's house.
Well, I think a lot of people use GPS now to see traffic, to see if
Alright,
they
I
have to
can
take an
see that.
alternative route. That's what I use. It
I
for.
just turn on my big giant map in the car and look where the red's at.
When it comes to someone maybe making a choice on, okay, I'd like to live in such and such school district,
Right.
and they can't necessarily trust what they see online, at least they shouldn't, because it may not be accurate.
What the school advertises online. Let me be clear, because
Okay.
if you go to the Department of Ed and look at the GPS, like I said, the graduation preparedness to success, they now measure more things. Like
Oh,
they measure, they let you know how a district has kids who were kindergarten ready, how many were able to read at 3rd grade, how many hit their math skills in 6th grade, and then how many in 11th grade are passing SAT scores. So those are 4 key benchmarks, but that's not everything. It's also including how many are on their way to graduate with a pathway. Now, it's not just Core 40. You can have a work pathway. You can have, there's a lot of other pathways to graduate, and the ability to know that you're career or college ready when you graduate. So they offer more classes because not everybody's going to go to college. They don't have to. We need more kids who are willing to work
Gosh,
than
it's
just
so
go to
true.
college. You joked about vocational training. We need
No, that's
more
the only
kids
thing-
going into
That's
vocational
the only
training.
reason why I graduated. And as a mortgage person, when I see so many people come to me to get pre-approved for a mortgage, today the kids that are getting pre-approved that are in their 20s and 30s that are getting approved with the best incomes and the best situations in their lives. I just closed a plumber. I just closed a loan up an electrician. I had a UAW worker. A couple of guys that work at a factory in Wabash called Ford Meter Box. These guys are making $80,000, $90,000, and $100,000 a year
Right.
with zero school debt. And I just got to talk to a second-year attorney who's making $62,000 with $240,000 in school debt.
Man.
Well, and I think the classes in high school point those out now, saying
His-
here's what you can start to begin with, here's what the average income is,
Sure.
here may be the max out, and letting them know, by the way, kids, you're not making your max out the first year out of school.
Yeah, and an
Doctors
attorney.
have years and years they have to work before they ever make money
Yeah, but there's
because they're
but-
paying off their loans.
But the thing is I know doctors that have had a couple of $100,000 in school loans that never get above that $200,000. And if you're going to family medicine, and
You're not
going
gonna
to
make
family
it.
medicine, you're going to make, you'll be lucky to make six figures, or the same thing that a really talented plumber is making.
Yeah.
When it comes back to your question about when you're searching for a home and looking at a school district,
Thanks for bringing it back around.
That's really what. Sorry,
boundaries.
The whole GPS thing threw it all
did.
it
off.
did. You can't say GPS.
Boundaries aren't necessarily like big walls anymore.
Yeah.
We in the state of Indiana, you can choose any neighboring school district to attend as long as they have space.
So when you say neighboring, like does
Like, I
it
take
have
my
to be
kids
next
Avon
door?
when I live here.
Yeah, right. He's on the east side of town. Avon's on the west side of town. For those of you that have no idea, could he take his kids to Avon?
You could apply for sure. What happened when the letter grades were out, they said if you were in a failing school district, you can go to any border one and not have to pay tuition fees or anything else. Now it's pretty much borders or wherever. If you want to drive your kid all the way to Avon and you apply to
I don't want to drive to Avon.
to go there, no one wants
Just
to
an example.
drive
Nobody
to
wants
Avon.
to drive to Avon.
I live closer and don't want to drive to
Avon.
Avon. But what happens? What?
So, I mean, I like Avon, but driving in Avon.
Out of the
sucks.
tens of listeners we have, I bet none of them are in Avon.
I'm not offending the Avon or Avon people, but driving in Avon, awful. Sorry, continue.
Well, I feel that way about
The
driving
makeup products
anywhere.
are fantastic.
But know that right now you're hitting March, April, which is when the application process is for.
We missed March. Now we're in April.
Oh,
We're
yeah,
damn near
yeah.
May.
But I said
We're damn
most
near.
schools have a March or April deadline to
Okay.
apply
Oh, I got
to
you.
become a non-district
For the August school
transfer.
start? Or is it July school start?
Well, last of July. But what you need to realize is a lot of schools, their numbers are going down. Especially here we are in Indianapolis. If you get any of them around 465, the donut or in, their numbers are going down because people always want to go further out.
Right? Yeah, they're all moving out here to Mount Vernon and
Right.
Greenfield. And
Right. Or you even going further.
Avon.
Center
Avon,
Grove,
Center Grove,
Avon,
yeah, Carmel.
Hamilton, Southeastern,
Westfield,
Carmel.
Pendleton.
So when you go outside of there, knowing
Newtown.
that if you stick within the schools around the township schools and IPS, they will often take you up until the first day of school. It all depends what's going on. But no, if you've missed a deadline to apply, when you apply, you commit to providing your own transportation. A bus is not going to drive your kids to Avon even if you get accepted. I'm letting you know that.
I'm just telling you that even though we lived within Mount Vernon School District, my kids never rode the bus one day.
Our kids rode them every day till they had their own cars.
My wife loved my children so much.
And I think we loved ours less, apparently.
She didn't want to ride the bus. I didn't
true.
get it. Like, to me, I was like, well, the bus is coming.
It's,
Yep, the
it's
bus
already
is
paid
already
for.
driving
It's
right by.
there.
Yeah.
So okay,
We still pay for the bus.
that's the thing. Like
Exactly.
I've heard back in my school days, like our enrollment is at max for this coming school year, or we're not taking on any more students. I mean, if someone wants to go to a particular school district, they could be told no because they're maxed out, right?
Yes, if they are already maxed out in their buildings or that grade, they can be maxed out. But know that you're also a more quality applicant if your grades are good, your attendance is great, and your discipline concerns are low or nothing. I think there's sometimes a misconception that my kid keeps getting in trouble at this school. I'm just going to go to this other school.
It was
Now-
always the school's fault
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
that I got in trouble.
So
Yeah, so-
now, schools, okay, is there a benefit to a school saying we're at max capacity, but your kid has great grades and hasn't gotten in trouble, so we'll like, why would they do that?
If they're maxed out, they probably want to
Oh,
do
okay.
that. But the reason why they would want to get any additional students is the state does pay per student, per
Oh.
pupil. That's how they get their money.
Okay,
It's
so they're getting
now-
more money.
They do get more money. The downfall right now is how much money is taken away from those who are going to parochial schools and private schools and taking
Charter
vouchers
schools.
and so forth to other schools. That takes away from public education. I'm a big advocate for public education because that's what your tax money goes toward, and not to mention the fact that part of what makes public education great is, again, we educate everybody. And there's That's what makes our country wonderful. I like that our kids went to public school, even though we probably could have chosen a parochial school, and we chose not to. Because there's diversity, there's opportunities. I know I have some friends whose kids went to parochial schools that after they hit algebra in 7th grade, they didn't have a math class to go to next because they didn't have a teacher that could teach geometry.
I'd have been, yes.
You have the
Oh, so
bigger
I'm done.
your
Okay.
school and the more diverse your school,
Sure.
the more offerings they're going to have. You go to these bigger schools and you're going to be able to have French and Spanish and Chinese and American Sign Language and German. You go to a smaller parochial school, your options are whatever
Spanish?
Spanish, and then whatever person happens to be working there that year.
But
Sometimes.
there's still some really large, private schools too.
Yes.
I mean, we have some great
Correct.
private schools in the football world.
Costs
right?
a lot to
Right,
go to
it
those
costs a
schools.
lot
Costs a
to
lot
go
of
there,
money,
and know that money doesn't go to the teachers. Their teachers get paid considerably
Well,
less.
I did do a loan for a teacher at one of the large private schools here, and they made good money.
Good.
I don't want to say the school.
That's
We'll
okay.
talk
then I
off
kinda
camera and
figure
we'll
out the
discuss
person,
how
but-
things go. It also matters if they do extracurriculars, if they coach something, those type of things. So-
People think private schools are better for discipline or less trouble or whatever. Kids are kids no matter what school you're at.
True.
Yeah, but if you
Class sizes might be smaller.
if
That
you,
is certainly a
if
possibility.
you do have a religious background and you want that to be part of
Correct.
your
That is
children's
true.
school,
Absolutely.
I think that's a great choice for someone that says I'm Catholic or
Yeah.
I'm Jewish and I want my
I totally agree
child
with
to
that.
go to a
but
school with that.
I was talking in the sort of the mindset of, there's less problems at the parochial school.
because they kick them out.
That's true, because they
kicked out
can.
of that school.
That
so
is
Yes.
absolutely true. But if they kick them out, then they definitely do lose their money. And we
Yeah, I'd
get
have been
students
something
in the public
Jesus
school.
doesn't even want you here, boy.
You would think they'd be more forgiving.
No, I was unforgivable in a lot of areas.
Jesus doesn't even want you here. There you go.
I'm very thankful for the teachers that I had, and I had a teacher named Mr. Kaufman, who I ran into at a wedding this year, and he's like, "It's so great to see you," and like he was so nice, and I was like, "Do you remember who I am? Like, do you remember who I am, Mr. Kaufman?" I said, "You're one of the only teachers I ever liked. Like, I liked him, but he's like, you weren't a troubled kid," and I was like, Even my buddy Brian Poole, who I was in his wedding there at that, and Pooley's like, "You sure you know who this is?" He's like, "Are you kidding me?" But he's seen through it. He's seen through what the other teachers were getting out of here. That's why I graduated, honestly. But, so I was very thankful for the teachers that helped me through school.
The fact that you just said they just wanted me out of there and that's why I graduated is the fact that we talked about how those letter grades, sometimes kids are pushed along.
Oh,
Sometimes graduation
I
rates are
graduated
meaningless.
because they did not
done.
want me back.
Yeah.
There was no way I was coming back into that school.
That's why I think what they're doing now to be able to look at the bigger picture on graduation rates and being college or career ready right away,
Right.
having the different pathways where some kids can get out right away, and looking at all these other components, know that if you go to, like if a family goes to the IDOE, Indiana Department of Education website, and go to the GPS page, you can look up any district, any school, any whatever, and you can find there's a lot of work in progress. They always say still in progress, a lot of it, because they're also starting to look at what happens a year after they graduate. So they're getting data on graduates. Were they able to be in a career? What's the average income for a kid a year after, 5 years after graduation? Because those are really numbers that make a difference.
Sure. Yeah. And
More than how they performed 3 days on math and English those couple days in the spring,
sure.
which is what they were rated on
Or their
before.
attendance, did they show up?
Right.
I'll tell you a place I've seen it be different in the mortgage world is more 20-year-olds buying houses. In the current generation of kids that are 20 and 20, I had a couple today that are 20 and 21.
Awesome.
And they're ready to buy a house. They
Right.
both have great jobs. They're both making great income. They've got good credit. They've got some money saved up. And they're 20. And then I'm trying to get this 36-year-old who just graduated from college, has this huge amount of debt, and hasn't really stumbled in on what they really want to do for a career. It's crazy. And the 20, I said, well, I feel good about the next generation.
Yeah, well, for sure.
I do. I love being able to work with some of the kids I work with now. Like we have some of our special needs kids that are working on a work pathways. And so they're going to get a diploma in work, and they come and work at this food pantry that I run. And they're
that's
working there
awesome.
a couple hours on Tuesday. They're working there on Wednesday. I had a kid say, when I graduate high school, I want to come work here. And I'm like, oh, bless your heart, honey. I don't pay anybody any money. You need to go somewhere where you get money. But
Yeah.
you're learning skills here where you can go get paid after you graduate and be able to work.
Then come
And
volunteer.
they're taking a lot of pride in their work. And
Sure.
a lot of times those kids don't get a chance to show any type of work skill.
No, I graduated high school and said, I'm going to own a mortgage company.
And here you are.
No, you did
No,
not.
I did not.
You want to own a landscaping company?
I didn't want to own that either.
Oh, okay.
Well, see, I always wanted to be a teacher, and I became a teacher.
Well, God bless you.
I'm one of those weirdos that you said no one works for the same company. 29 years I've been in the same school
Wow.
district.
Hey, you know, I've been with the same, you know, I started in the mortgage business with my business partner in 1997.
Okay.
I started a business in 2006 after selling the mortgage company. And I got back into the mortgage business with my same business partner in 2016. So I can tell you my whole resume to every job I've had because it isn't that many of them.
Right.
You know, so, and then some of these loan applications, these kids, I'm like, okay, where did you work before that? And they go, oh, yeah, that was, oh, that's so long ago. It was, October 23.
Had like 4 jobs since then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
October of 23. I can tell you what drink I had on a Thursday night.
Tequila.
Tequila.
All right, well, we're going to cut this off. I feel like we could talk about this all night, but we do have to cut it off some point. I do want to say that the first week of May is traditionally National Teacher Appreciation Week. So, sticking with the theme here, I do want to shout out to teachers because we do appreciate what you do. And if you want to send something out to your teacher friends, teacher family members, please do so because they are not appreciated enough. So thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Brad, as always, you're empty. Stephanie, thanks for your contributions. We'll probably
Cheers.
talk about you on the next episode because that's what we do. Till next time, Real Estate Makes Us Drink. Thanks for watching.